Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Awaken Your Relationships. I have been on vacation the last couple weeks, so welcome back. I too have to unplug from the world. Rita and I were just talking about the fact that, wow, is life really giving us opportunities these days?
Right. And, when I say the word opportunities to people, while I'm in the middle of some weird crisis, everybody looks at me like I'm Looney Tunes. I mean, they look at me like I should be committed because
Right.
I'm like, no, you don't understand. If you don't look for the opportunity, you're going to suffer.
Right. Well, it's really interesting because I have a few words these days that I have been using a lot, and it's the words to keep me in a state of neutrality so I can stay in the present moment. And that is, everything is interesting. Like, I don't want to get on because remember, we are transitioning from third dimension to fifth dimension. And that's why all this upheaval and everything going outside in the world, just pick it, right? You could just pick it. It's been going on for a year and a half, just pick
Plenty of reasons to be upset and to feel victimized, more than enough.
Right. So we want to be able to rise up and shift out of it. You have to get out of right and wrong. You have to get out of fighting. You have to get out of, because all that will not allow you yourself to evolve. And so I started using vocabulary because I'm always saying in money management, like, well, what do you want to create in your life? And everyone always tells me what they don't want as opposed to what they want. And I'm like, no. What's the dream? What's the dream?
You have to have that and then breathe and receive it in.
Right?
That's been my thing lately. So 2 things I've been doing. One is to find my neutrality. I've just been repeating the Lord's Prayer over and over. Because when I was a kid, it was Catholic in my mind. And it comes with a little song, And then the second thing I've been doing is I think women have a problem with receiving. We're so used to trying to change things out there instead of visualizing and seeing I'm receiving the love coming into me and then I'm breathing it out into the world. I'm receiving the abundance and breathing it out. I'm receiving $100,000 and then spending it on things that matter and nurture and nourish the world. Right. Almost constantly in the back of my mind, I have these things going on, like a running tape. Instead of obsessing about 4 or 5 negative things, I just have that running tape of the Lord's Prayer or that breathing in and receiving love and abundance and breathing out and nourishing the world.
Well, and with that, that's where I'm starting, because I'm an extrovert, right? So words are a good one for me. And so like everything's interesting to me. And I'm going, well, I'm kind of curious about that. Like just curious, like, so I can stay in that state of being the observer of what's really going on, because, we're talking about awakening our relationships here. And you know what? I am fascinated. Anyone who's been watching this journey knows the journey I have been on has been my highest catalyst for highest consciousness possible. That has been my relationship journey. And so what I find fascinating about it is that because I've stayed in this state of neutrality on so much of it, and there are times when people would look at me and be like, you need to go after this, and you need to go get your kids, and you need to go. And it's like, no, like I get that on one level. My ego mind understands that, but then I was being guided to do different things. And I was being guided to hold space. So be in my divine feminine energy, to hold the space for what could arise. And I always talk about that. That's when you hold the space in your divine feminine energy, what you're doing is you're holding the field of potentiality, of what is the full potential of this outcome, because you're not engaging on an ego level. You're actually staying in the field of what is potentially the highest and best.
Well, and there's another side to that too, because you can stay there, but sometimes people see you as being very forthright, not you personally, but when you start to pull yourself back, you also start to say things very directly. that you might have hidden in
Right.
the past because you were
Mhm.
too afraid or frozen or didn't know what to do. And now you start saying things and being more authentic with your feelings, even if they look a little bit like a hot mess.
Well, because you're speaking your truth,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, it is the profound sense of freedom to speak your truth. It's almost like when it comes out of my mouth these days, I walk away and I giggle. I'm like, like that was really fun because I was actually really truly authentic.
Right,
But boy,
right.
did I just drop some bombs.
Yeah. And you go, I can't believe I just said that. I wonder how that's going to turn. It's like it blurts out. It's like we just keep blurting these things out and we're just sort of like, okay, well, oh, well.
Yep. 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 And it's just amazing in how what it also does is that shows that you have shifted your insides. You didn't shift, it wasn't something outside of yourself that you were trying to
Control,
have make you
manage,
happy.
manipulate. Mm-hmm.
Right. So it was about the fact that it's you're coming from your inside, which means then your outside automatically has to change. So your relationships have to shift. Because when you're authentic and you're real and you're speaking your truth, no matter how hard that might land to somebody else, one of the hardest lessons I learned along my spiritual journey over the last 10 years was to allow people in their lives to actually live as a result from the choices that they've made themselves.
Right.
Because
Because
I was
how
a
else does
person
the
to go in
person
and,
grow?
right. Because I was the person to go in and save and try to people please and give, 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 give. And I found that that was the least loving thing to do. But yet my Catholic upbringing said, oh, that's exactly what you're supposed to do.
Right. You're supposed to take care of your neighbor and fix it, and that disempowers people because then they never learn that they can sort it out. I mean, the crises that they're not crises, but the emotional upheavals that have been happening, for me, have been opportunities to recognize what really nourishes me. So like you'll notice, like I told you, I'm going to be smelling essential oils and I'm trading between 3 of them today, like every few seconds, because they talk directly to the amygdala. Instead of saying, I'm helpless, it's their fault, there's nothing I can do, I'm instead saying, oh, look at this abundance. Doesn't this smell good? No, I'm going to go smell this other one. Oh, I love frankincense. Oh, yeah, I'm going to smell a little frankincense because that always makes me happy.
Yeah.
So we literally physically have to stop saying, you need to make me happy. And we have to start saying, I need to make me happy.
Right. Right. Yeah. And that, I don't know if many people know what their happy is. I know when I was first coming out of my relationship, I had defined myself so much as not authentically me in that relationship that I didn't even know what my happy was. I knew what our collective happy was because I was people pleasing everybody, right? From kids to ex-husband, I was people pleasing everybody, to now how do you do it when it's with your own happiness, which is, and that comes from the fact that I'm one of 12 children, right? When you have 11 brothers and sisters and you were all born in, where were we? We're 12 of us in 16 years. So we were all packed into a house. It was never about just you, right? You couldn't define your own happiness because you had 3 other people in the bathroom with you at the same time, you know? And so when you think about that, it's about, wow, how do we get to that place of finding what's true for us? And that just takes you loving yourself enough to spend the time to maybe meditate on it or go for walks. And
well, I think everybody really does know what makes them happy, but we're looking for the wrong things. We think it's something else like peace or love or whatever. You know what makes me happy? A bomb pop on a hot day. You know what else makes me happy? The taste of really good chocolate. Because we're of we're of multiple minds. We've got our higher self, we've got our ego self, and we've got our body self. And we obsess about our mind and our ego self over and over. But like we've all heard, you can't fix the mind through the mind. If you want to do something that makes you happy, do something that makes you happy.
Whatever
Literally.
that is in the moment. So Rita, what do you think about, I had someone say to me the other day, well, looks like I just have to sit home and sit in my shit. And I was like,
oh,
well, why would you do that? I'm
no.
like,
go home and garden.
Well, I'm just sitting here going, I don't even do that. And so the argument is that then I don't spend time reflecting on what's going on. No, I just don't choose to suffer.
Well, people don't understand how these things actually work. They think it's, and I think that's the problem of religion. It makes the practical application of emotional well-being as something that's beyond us.
Right.
And emotional well-being has to do with doing things that light you up, that give you little squirts of beta endorphins into your system.
Right.
That's what we're looking for. And so we've forgotten or told to ignore our body self, to suffer, let our hip hurt, let ourselves have the headache, feel stressed, but power through it and put a mask on.
No, just feel those emotions.
Yeah. Which is ridiculous, because when you're in fight or flight and you're obsessing about the thing that other person did, you're not going to get anywhere because you're in your amygdala. You physically have to take yourself out of, oh my God, how am I going to do this? To, oh, wow, doesn't this smell great? Because in the brain, it takes your switch. It takes your nervous system switch, and it takes you out of scarcity. It takes you out of contraction and fear, and it brings you into the abundance that the world really is.
Right.
Our shit is when we have forgotten that we are part of something that's really amazing. And so why sit in that disassociation? Why sit in that lack of seeing that we're miracles? What does that do for anybody to obsess about what,
No,
why
what
we
it does
don't
is
deserve
it's
love?
almost like punishment, self-punishment.
Yeah, and that's Catholicism for you. That's where
that's
you
a lot of
take the whip,
religion.
and you hit your back because you deserve to suffer for the pain that you have caused others and for your sins. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's a whole masculine, active point of view of dominate. We have to do action. What's been missing is the feminine energy, which is going back into the field, going back into Sophia, going back into that darkness and into the creativity. Women will achieve so much more if they allow themselves to meditate and smell essential oils and eat chocolate than they will if they try to be a man, if they try to be male.
You bring up a great point. So, because remember, everyone, I'm the money chick, but I see things act out with your money, your relationships, or your health. Hence, we're doing the Awaken Your Relationships. And it is fascinating to me how many people come to me and I say to them, okay, I need you to create a savings account that's called like your spending bucket, your piss away fund. I had somebody call it that one time because they're like, wait a minute, you as my financial planner, you're telling me that every raise I get, every bonus I get, I get to go spend it, because we have all this guilt around how we've done money. And I'm always telling them like, no, you have to enjoy. Like if you don't enjoy, and I got this from, I heard Susie Orman say this before Oprah Winfrey ended her talk show years ago. And she said to this lady who had $79,000 of credit card debt, she told her, and she was a CPA, this woman was an accountant, and she on 23 different credit cards. And Susie said to her, now you are not to spend any of that money until you pay off all that debt. And I'm like, why would you create, that's like punching yourself in the face for all your crappy choices that you had over the last how many years it took you to create all that debt. And why would you do that to yourself? And
I hate people who say things. I mean, I hate it when people tell you must suffer, you deserve to suffer. I mean,
well, to me, it's about the fact that we all make mistakes. I tell my kids all the time, great. Did you learn? You made a mistake. Awesome. What did you learn from it? And so they can evolve, because that's how you learn, but we don't have to beat ourselves up over it. We don't have to create all this guilt. And to me, you have to feel the rewards of the great stuff that you're doing right now. So if you got a bonus, you got a pay raise, you got a tax return, you got an inheritance, I call it newfound money. You get that, you have to do something that uplifts you, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
And
when it's hard, you do something that is easy. And when it's easy, you do something that's hard. That's kind of been the latest thing I've been saying lately. You know, when it's hard, when you're feeling like you're struggling, that's the cue that you need to do something that's easier for yourself, that's gentler and easier on yourself. And when things are going well, that's when you need to, you know, strap on your courage and face some of the things that are more difficult, because you have the resources.
Right.
We have to stop putting ourselves in a hole and then expecting ourselves to somehow fly to the moon with a paperclip. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Right. It really
You've
is.
got no resources when you don't fill your own bucket first.
That's so true. And I think the challenge is we deny ourselves so much that then when we get these opportunities, then you like go overkill. It's no different than like in a relationship where like the woman hasn't gone on a date and all of a sudden somebody gives her the opportunity for a date and then she's all over him. It's like, no, don't do that. Like, give him space, like allow it to be something that unfolds, be in the mystery. Don't be like flies on shit.
Right. You have to be confident enough in yourself and your own ability to handle your own reality so that you can show up to someone else in a relationship.
Right. Right. That's so true.
And if you don't feel confident in your ability to handle your own emotions, you need to get help, and you need to learn how to handle your own emotions so that they stop making you make bad decisions that aren't in your best interest.
So true.
But we're told not to get help.
Right, because you're supposed to fix it.
Yeah, you're supposed to know if you were perfect, then it would be easy. You know, you're supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to look easy. You're never supposed to get mad. You're not supposed to be a human being with problems or issues. You're not supposed to be a failure. You're not supposed to be any of those things. You're just supposed to be perfect right out of the gate.
Right.
And that's not true. That's just going to keep you in a hole.
Yeah, because life isn't perfect. Life never actually unfolds in exactly the way you always intended it to be. And so never. So we just have to accept that that's reality.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's where your that's interesting comes in. That's where your that's interesting, because you give yourself that detachment to say, oh, that's interesting. I'm going to take 3 steps back and watch this almost like it's a movie and see where it goes.
Well, it's like, we talk about you're doing the essential oils, right? That's a tool that you're using. Like I put on this ring today, this one, that it's a wave to go with the flow. Like I wanted to remind myself today to go with the flow and have the perfect balance of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, because I strive to be right there in that balance and harmony in the middle. It's like I've even made my jewelry, and then on this side I put this is self-love. It represents self-love. Like today, do everything that is the most self-loving thing that you can do for yourself. And they're just the reminder. So like whether it's the essential oils that align you with happiness and love, right? We talked about that I lit my candles this morning over here that are happiness and love.
Right. It's hard. You know, this stuff is hard. And so you have to give yourself the best chance that you can. You know, you have to do the things that make you make you feel better. You know, because this is hard. Life is hard. Right. For everybody, because we're human beings who are trying to get through a very messy world.
It's only getting messier.
It is only getting messier with more technology, people more distracted by their phones, by
Delta viruses.
Right. And people not having as much human connection. You know, and everybody's feeling it, and everybody's
I know. I felt so bad for this one gentleman. Yes. Was it yesterday, the day before? he came up to me and he's got like 2 or 3 masks on. Like clearly he's in a lot of fear. And and he's like pointing at me and pointing at my face because I didn't wear a mask. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not afraid. I'm just not afraid. Like yes, I will collectively do exactly what is best for the collective, but in the same token, there's something about like shutting us up and putting the masks on, and I'm having a challenge with the fact that they're now they put a mask mandate for all children going to school this year. And how is that wiring into our children's minds, and all developments of relationship, right? Because if we can't see people and speak to people, I remember when the masks first came off, I'm like, nice to see you again.
Right. We're missing a lot of, I was thinking about this earlier, a couple days ago. How did our ancestors, our tribal, people who lived out in the weather and, there was droughts, and how did they not lose their mind? Because we've got everything right now. We've got home, and we have a reliable food source usually. I mean, especially in this country in so many ways. How did they make it? And they made it because they consistently did things that brought them back to a place of feeling connected again. As it was a normal part of life to have all of those things. And I don't know, if we shifted to something that was more, you have to do something to be happy.
Oh, there's no doubt, right? Like I am learning in spades. The new model is being a human being, not a human doing. And again, you need the combination, because the being is the feminine and the doing is the masculine. And we need a balance, because if you only were being, I'm doing this, I'm developing an online course right now for women, single women who have kids and have it all on their shoulders and stuff. And in this process, it's like we do. The problem is that our bodies are falling apart from all the doing.
They're falling apart. They're falling apart. We're all on medications, not everybody, but I mean, we're all doing things to keep our bodies going. And that should be the red flag, that we're not doing enough to nourish ourselves. And people will say, well, I make sure, I drink enough water, and I make sure I'm doing everything. I'm taking every supplement I can find. But the problem is when we're contracted, when we're afraid or guilty or ashamed or hurt, our body can't absorb the nutrients. And like you always say, then everything starts to crystallize in your body, because it's literally shut down without a lot of flow. And so your body just passes everything through it, or it'll hold on to it all, and you'll have constipation, or you'll have coughing fits, or you'll get chronic headaches or back problems, because our body can't handle being in that place of constant aware, reacting to things. And we do that when we don't have enough good things in our lives that we're focusing on.
Right. Well, and that's where, and I'm learning this about the being side, that, I've always pushed and I've done and accomplished more than most people. And
yeah, you have.
And I've watched my physical body actually take a hit for that. And so, since my divorce, I have been repairing all of that, because it's like I was doing for everybody. And I will tell you, now that I'm learning more of the being part, I am really struggling with the fact that I pay alimony, because I don't want to do for anybody else anymore.
I don't blame you, because
I am so over paying alimony.
And that's what I meant about, you start saying things and you start doing things which are out of character, maybe for, what you've done in the past.
Right.
And if you can't verbalize it, if you can't tell people what's going on, then you just look like you're Looney Tunes.
Yep. Yeah, it's really fascinating.
Like you
Because I
said,
think
how
the
many
real
people
big
were
key.
telling you, you need to be fighting back, you need to be doing something. And we're like the outliers. We're like, no, wait, we need to not be doing that. We need to be focusing on the opportunity. We
Well, and
need
I
to
want
be
to,
doing the good things.
and I want to share with everyone, every time I fought, because trust me, that is my natural response.
Mhm.
Every time I fought, I lost. Every time. Because I knew I was supposed to take it to a higher level. I was supposed to be in my divine feminine energy out of it, not my divine masculine energy. Because again, we all have the masculine and the feminine, right? And so it was fascinating to me that when it was interesting. When I was in Sedona, I had, this was back in early June. I was told that I decided to go get a tarot reading. And the woman literally right up front, she goes, "You're going to find yourself in court again with your ex." And I was like, oh, and I could feel it brewing, right? And I was like, and I had all these conversations with spirit, source, the universe going, yeah, I'm not doing this again. Like, no, no, no. And literally, it takes two people to fight. If you choose not to fight, guess what? It falls apart. And that's exactly what happened. I opted to not fight. And I was just like, I don't know what to tell you. Because here's what's happened this whole time. The attorneys have made a ton of money. And I don't still have the resolve that I desire. And these attorneys over a 4-year period of time have made $700,000
Oh
off
my
of me.
God.
Yep. And I'm
Why
never
am
the
I
one that
not in that
hires them.
business?
And I'm never the one that hires them.
Yeah.
And it's been fascinating to me going how to unplug. This is how the universe is actually teaching me to not fight. And I can see that by observing it. And it's not that I didn't have good reasons. It's not that I didn't have, but I'm really learning to do life in a different way and more of the being way instead of the doing way. And it's coming for whatever reason in this package to me. And that's why I want to share that with everyone who's watching, because our natural instincts is to fight for it. And I am telling you, the energy and where our world is shifting is no more fighting.
No more fighting.
No more fighting.
And
Like,
I tend to hide. I tend to get overwhelmed. I tend to internalize it, and then I get sick. We've talked about this before. There's like 5 ways that people react to stress. They fight, they disassociate, which a lot of us did as kids. We just went to our happy place.
Yep.
And pretended like none of it was happening.
Yep.
We people please. So we try to control or manipulate the other person by saying or doing things that make them happy. I've been told I give sugary sweet compliments, and to me, but I'm sure it's, just our natural reaction. Or we put blinders on and we just work really hard.
Yep. Yep.
Or we see things in black and white and we can't see the gray in between it all. So if we're exhibiting any of those, that's our cue that we are not connected to our higher source. And the most important thing we can do for me is to pull out my essential oils and start smelling them, and to focus on the beauty of the tree across the road. And to do this breath exercise, which I've been doing a lot, as I said, I'll think of something specific that I want. Let's say $100,000.
Right.
And I breathe in, I receive $100,000. And then I breathe out, and then I send it out and nourish the world. And I have colors with it. And I see it in my mind's eye of, I'm breathing in, I'm receiving, I receive the abundance, I receive the $100,000, and I share it and spread it out with the world. But it could be anything.
Right.
I receive someone's love, because more times than not, people are trying to give you their love, but they're overwhelmed.
Well,
and if all you can see is their crap,
right, and they can't give you the love that they don't have for themselves.
Right. Or it's more like flipping a switch again. If anyone is in a place of disassociation, anger, all that stuff. If anybody's in that place, they do not have the love which is inherently theirs to have. It's only when we flip back into our connection with the flowers and the trees and the air that we're breathing in, and the how we create things, that's the only way that we can feel love. We can't feel love when we're in contraction. And so if I'm looking at somebody and I'm thinking to them, God, you're a piece of shit, you know, I'm contributing, I'm creating that. But if I can think to myself, no matter what it looks like, no matter who's the president, no matter what's going on, it's our job to believe in the best in people, even if we know for sure that they have all this other stuff going on. You know, even if they do bad things and horrible things and they're sociopaths who, you know, are mass murderers, it's because they're disconnected. It doesn't mean we cut them a break, but it means that when we think about them, we don't think about what a horrible person they are. We think about how we're receiving their love so that we can try to activate it for ourselves first.
Right.
We have to activate it for ourselves. And by seeing love or perceiving love, we have a better chance of feeling love.
Right. And one of the things that I've heard recently that I completely resonate with is in terms of it's when we're looking for something outside of ourselves, like external referral for your happiness as opposed to something internal. Like, you know, if you're people pleasing, like only if they're happy, then I'm happy. And I know a lot of women do that in relationships.
Because I don't think they know what else they can do. I mean,
well, that's kind of what we were taught, right? If you think about the old housewife, right? You make everything balanced and you make it, you know, I think of the cleavers, right? That show back years ago. And it's
never upset, never had a problem, never raised her voice.
Yeah. And it's like, that's not reality. And it's like, I've had some people, it's interesting to me. I've heard enough verbiage from other people about how, man, you're all about yourself. And I'm like sitting around, are you freaking kidding me? And it was only because I actually I didn't people please them.
Yes. Yes.
And I've heard it enough that when I hear it now, I kind of go, oh, good. I held a good boundary for myself. Great. And then I just walk away, where before, you know, if you would have looked at me 10 years ago, I would have been like, oh my gosh, like,
why is this happening?
Try to make it
Why
up.
are they doing this? How can I control it? Yeah. How do I stop it? How do I stop them from hurting me? How do I stop them from making me feel horrible? And in reality, they are living their own life. They're seeing their own world. I mean, the more I talk to people, the more I realize that every word that comes out of my mouth means something different to the other person than it means to me.
Yeah.
You know, so when I give, you know, let's say a sugary compliment, in my world, it's sincere because I like to feel that love, because that's the only thing I know that will pull me out.
Right.
But to other people, it will come across differently because they're in their own set of beliefs. They're in their own view of the world. Right. You know, and it's like they've been saying about money, how there's these haves and have-nots, you know, and the divide is getting bigger. And it's the same with emotions and energy. There's the ones that are, you know, diligently getting reconnected, doing that self-care, focusing on the opportunities. And then, you know, there's the opposite, the contraction and the destruction that is not. But if we believe that it's a grade, it's a gradation, it's a grayscale, then we can just keep working the program and being happy more and more often,
right? And
unhappy less and less often. It's not about you're either happy or unhappy.
Right.
It's more about, I said to somebody the other day, I said, you know, about a few years ago, I was unhappy about 70% of the time, and I was only happy about 30% of the time.
Well, that's
and now. Yeah, but that's true for almost everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and now I'm happy like 70% of the time and only unhappy like 30% of the time. And as time goes by, I hope to have it less and less.
I said to my 6-year-old, I always tell my kids, I'm like, when they got a puss on their face, I'm like, what's going to make you giggle? you know, and they're just like, what? And the other day my son goes, Mom, when we get home, can we watch the movie Pitch Perfect? Because they love all the singing in that movie.
Yeah.
And I go, well, honey, it's gonna be like 9:30 at night. We kind of gotta go to bed. He goes, but that's what's gonna make me giggle. And I go, all right, honey, we'll turn it on a little bit. I said, because I certainly want you to, because I want them to program to find the things that in that moment, in the present moment, in the flow, what brings you that happiness? What brings you, for women, it's the giggle, and kids, it's the giggle. For grown men, it's that smirk on their face. They get this shit ass grin on their face. And I recognize that with clients. Like when I would tell clients like, no, I want you to go spend this money. And they're like, I cannot believe my financial planner is telling me to go spend this money. I'm like, why do you make the money? It's to create the happiness that you desire, to live the life you want to live. So why are you saving it all for a rainy day? You're still going to be okay. I tell you, if you're not going to be okay, but most people are going to be just fine. And we don't realize that when we choose that internal happiness, more money always comes. Always.
And that's where I'm at now, you know, because I've spent, you know, diligently throughout my life. When you have trauma as a child, you know, like you did as well, you know, we both had trauma as a child. It's like you start that process early. You start the process of being like, how do I handle this overwhelm? Because nobody's going to save me. And so you diligently, piece by piece, keep working on things. And what I was saying earlier was, when you're given opportunities that make you feel really horrible, that's how you find out what really nourishes you.
Right.
Because if you can pull yourself out of that place of being triggered, if you can manage to somehow climb that mountain out of how horrible and scared and anxious and worried you feel, then you find what really nourishes you, and nothing can ever affect you, you know, to that degree ever again. Right. Because you now know what to do, because you've climbed the mountain. You've stared the devil in the face. Right. And you know, I'm not going to fight anymore because I never win. You know, or I'm going to smell essential oils and breathe in pink love and breathe out blue love.
Exactly. You know? It's these little things that we don't realize make a really big difference
for ourselves. Because we put ourselves last.
Right. Well, and I know as I've been doing this, it's been fascinating to me how people are like, Julie, you look way younger. And I'm like, well, because I'm really working on that internal happiness quotient. And like people say to me all the time going, did you move to Sedona, Arizona? I'm like, no, I've just been going there a ton. Because why? There's something about hiking those mountains that just helps me process everything. So
got a lot of vortexes. They have so many vortexes there that put you into a suspended animation type of state where you can process through what's going on.
Well,
it's like you're closer to spirit.
Well, and initially it was really funny. You know, one of my daughters made a crack in front of my boyfriend and said, well, yeah, your life is great. You just hop on an airplane every time you don't have your children, and you're having the time of your life. And my boyfriend stepped in, he goes, or the perspective is that your mother really has a hard time when she doesn't have her children, and she's just doing everything and anything to make herself happy because she's absolutely miserable not having her children.
Yes, exactly. You know, and people will sometimes see me as a Pollyanna. You know, they'll see me as, why do you always focus on the positive? You know, because life isn't positive. There's a lot of crap in the world and everything's going wrong. And what about
I
this?
just can't focus on the crap.
And I'm like, I will drown. I will suffocate. I can't go there. I can't go into that cesspool of dirty anger. I just can't. I will self-destruct. I will get sick. I will puke. I will run away. I will jump off a bridge. I will literally kill myself quickly or slowly if I do not have the ability to make myself happy and to focus on the things that make me happy when I am struggling.
Right.
To take that away from me is a kiss of death for anybody.
Right. And I am fascinated how many people don't choose the happiness and they plug in. It's easy to, our society makes it easy, whether it's that, I had said to somebody, they're like, oh my God, this person just keeps commenting on all my stuff on Facebook and blah, blah. And I'm like going, unfriend them. They're like, well, I knew him when I was in my 20s and long-term friend. I go, I'm telling you, my newsfeed is nothing but positivity.
Mine too.
Why? Because I've literally I even blocked one of my aunts. I unfriended her because I was like, I don't want to get lectured anymore how I'm damned to hell because I read tarot cards.
And how did being on Facebook or not being on Facebook mean that you're, have such social consequences? I mean, come on, we used to go places without mobile phones and or answering machines, and no one could reach us. No one could say those inner things that they're thinking to themselves in the dark of the night when they're pissed off.
Right.
You didn't have that. You didn't have random attacks because somebody was in a bad mood.
Right.
Right. Whereas now we do. People are accessible 24/7 if you let yourself. And it's going to kill you. It will kill you slowly.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, it is so empowering. I had decided to turn my phone off for one whole Saturday and just be with whatever, like wherever I was supposed to go, I got guidance to do. And it was very funny. It was, what's even funnier is that the boyfriend couldn't get a hold of me and everything. And it was so funny. And I thought I had mentioned it to him that I was just going to shut off from the world. And he actually wound up showing up in my house. It was so funny. So but we don't empower ourselves to give ourselves that space. And I got to tell you, you feel like $1 million after you do.
Yeah, you do. Which is why I spend so much time in that meditation time, because I am sensitive. I am feeling what's going on in the world. I do hear stories of pain and suffering and women who can't find their way out. I mean, I see and I feel so much of it. I must be diligent about being in a good space, because I've done it the other way. And that's made me really, really, really sick. And I'm not willing to be that sick anymore for anybody else, because it's not necessary and it's not worth it. So there's all these different types of, processing tools. And one of them that a woman showed up with has been these worksheets. You fill out a worksheet for every emotion and you go through this whole mental processing thing. And you have to do hundreds and thousands of worksheets. And I said, well, you could either spend your time doing a worksheet, or you could eat a piece of chocolate cake outside with your feet in the grass. They will both work. Which one would you rather do?
Piece of chocolate cake all day long.
Piece of chocolate cake all day long, where you savor it, and maybe you made it for yourself and it's got everything you want in it. I made brownies the other day, and I took, some good mix, and then I added all the leftover chocolate, all this leftover chocolate bars, little pieces and whatnot, like 4 or 5 different types, because I only buy good chocolate. My husband only buys me good chocolate. And I threw them all in the brownie mix, because the brownies were for me. And then I ate them, enjoying
they were good.
And they were good. And I said, thank you, Rita, for making something that I loved and for treating me so well. And that has to be the script in our head, not how do I protect myself? Who did this? What am I going to worry about? It has to be, I receive love. I receive love. And it's that breathing in. We have to, the universe is breathing into us. And it's a way different experience than I'm going to control my breathing and try to feel better. The universe is breathing life into me. I'm breathing in all of the love from this person, whether I perceive it or not. Why would you want to go the other route of, well, I'm going to sue their ass and I'm going to take them to court and I'm going to, scream at them and I'm going to tell them everything that's wrong with them? Why would you choose that route for yourself? Why would anybody be crazy enough to do that? Eat the popsicle.
But consciously nobody does, right? But it's our subconscious mind, the repeated, because we have these grooves in our brain that we're already tracked into this suffering cycle. And that's why we turn around and
so you notice, and then you smell your essential oil, and then another one, and then you put
And
your
you burn your
candles on,
abundance candles while you're
abundance
doing
candles.
everything.
Right, and you keep
I also
crystals
have a
nearby. where you
positive
go,
energy.
oh, your beautiful crystal, and then
Oh,
you wear pretty colors you like, and
can I show
have
you my new
rings.
one? Can I
Yes,
show you my
yes,
new
I
one?
love this. Yes. Oh, is that cool? Is that
This is
sandstone?
the Sedona rock. And when I saw this in a store, I was like, oh, we all have so many layers. So many layers. And you know what? All within all of these layers and all the layers of our communities and what's going on in the world, it can all be solved from love.
Yeah, yeah. And
that's what this represents to me.
And that's beautiful.
Isn't it gorgeous?
It is gorgeous. You know, and we have
Amazing
to really
artist.
believe it. We have to really feel the love. You know, people think, they go, well, positive thinking doesn't work, because it's not about positive thinking. It's about positive feeling.
Right, because the feeling
positive.
is a more potent vibration, because the feeling is in our heart. How many times do we have to say this, right? The heart is way more powerful than the head.
Mm-hmm.
Way more
powerful. So you have to do whatever you have to do to change how you feel and have your thoughts align with how you feel. You're not going to change how you feel with your thoughts. I don't care how many times they tell you that you can change how you feel with your thoughts. Einstein, I believe, said you cannot change, solve a problem from the same, place that it was created from. If you think the problem's in your mind, if you're obsessing about how somebody wronged you, you're not going to solve it that way.
Right.
You're going to solve it by listening to the birds.
Well, I know. And it drives me crazy. There's so many things that are out there these days that it's like, change your mindset. I'm like, it has nothing to do with your mind. Like, it's not your mind.
Yeah, nothing to do with your mind. Do things that make your body happy. And even just a quick memory. I have people who think of eating mangoes and sharing them with their children, or thinking about being on the beach, or anything that brings you joy is the right answer.
Well, and this is where even all my experiences that I have had that led up to my divorce and post-divorce, I really realized, particularly in this last round with the attorneys, that I had to let go of every memory, every single memory. And trust me, they are not great ones, not great ones at all.
Right. And you don't want to let go of them,
trauma.
because they might do it again, because you might be a victim again.
But here's the thing. When I could live in the present moment and only deal with what was going on in that moment, and I didn't bring anything from the past, those memories, into the present moment, then I had a different outcome. Because
I was reading about the Dalai Lama the other day, and the Dalai Lama is not all Zen all the time.
He's human, of course.
He's human. And the observation this person had was the Dalai Lama could be sobbing, thinking about the suffering of his people, and then 5 minutes later could be hearing a joke and laughing. Because it's not about getting rid of how we feel. It's about not being stuck in how we feel, allowing ourselves to go with the ebb and flow of the world. When I read that, I thought, you mean the Dalai Lama isn't a nice guy all the time? No, because he's feeling the energy of what's going on. He's responding to it, but he's not holding on to it. He's letting go of it. That is healthy. Not being perfect, not never getting mad, not never having a problem. That is a setup.
Yeah.
But to recognize, I'm feeling this. Now I'm ready to feel something different, being in the flow.
So true. So true. And it's no different than, I was thinking of, as you were saying that, like being in the flow and letting go of the past. Part of my letting go of the past and not pulling into the present moment is that some of the videos that you and I have done have completely triggered my ex-husband. And he wanted to fight, and he wanted to plug in, and he went after me from the attorneys to get him deleted, and he expected me to fight. I'm like going, okay, so my fight is I'm going to fight to keep those up. that would be me fighting. And I'm going, I have thousands of videos up there. And I'm like, my response was, okay, I'll take them down. Like, okay. And he kept coming back and I just kept saying, okay, I'll take them down. So there were 6 of them. So that's a great example of how my ego was tied to keeping them up, because I still think there was great information in there for people. But in the same token, I want more peace and harmony in my life. And not that I'm letting him control, but yet in the same token, it's almost saying, okay, well, I like the highest and best for our kids. And if this makes that happen, okay, great.
People come to me with so many physical problems. And it starts to come down to, you have breast cancer. You can't afford to stay in a place of anger and fear and anxiety anymore.
No.
Your body has shut down. You are now, you know, you have fibromyalgia. You have migraine headaches. You have Crohn's disease. You are getting your leg amputated. You
So
cannot
let it go or you will suffer more.
You cannot afford to be emotionally miserable anymore, because it is a certain death sentence.
Yep.
You know, and I see it with some of the clients, you know, and sometimes I have people who come in and I talk to them for a while and I go, oh yeah, this isn't going to be able to turn around. You know, there's too much. There's too much suffering, too many layers that they can't let go of. And then typically they will get some disease, you know, that they end up passing away, you know, and you can pinpoint it and you can say, yeah, the body can't keep doing this, and it doesn't have enough resources left to rally. So, you know, this is probably how this is going to go. But for other people, when they're on the edge, you're like, you might be able to pull this out of the fire, you know, but you can't afford to feel sorry for yourself anymore, and you can't afford to blame anybody anymore. You physically cannot. It has to be you or them. And if it's going to be them, then you're going to die.
Right. Yep, exactly.
Why else do grumpy people seem to last a long time? Because, you know, they sit there and
they push they don't take in the stuff themselves. They push it off to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you know what, I say this about, I have a child who really doesn't emotionally eat, and I have 2 that do. So 2 took after me in that respect, because I emotionally eat, and the other, and I've noticed there are times people, her classmates, people outside, like, they are really put off, but she holds extremely healthy boundaries, and she has since the day she was born, that she just doesn't take anybody else's stuff in. She goes, that's yours, not mine. And she pushes it back. And I keep telling her, even though society's trying to get her to do something different, that is the most powerful tool that she has. And, you know, and thank you, because that's something else she's reiterating and teaching her mom, you know, and because people come in our lives, whether it's our children, our parents, our siblings, our relationships, they all come in our lives to show us the next place of our own personal evolution. And if we can see it and hear it and stop creating suffering and disease over it until you get it, because we will create the crisis if we don't shift.
Yeah.
And this is what's important. And you don't have to contract coronavirus to shift. You don't have to, you know, have heart problems or dementia as you age. None of that.
Yeah.
You
Let's
can
avoid it
thrive until the day you leave this earth. You absolutely can. I have an 89-year-old client who plugs in all of her grandkids on Snapchat and Instagram. And I'm like, my mom at 70 doesn't do that, you know, but at 89, she's rocking and rolling. It's amazing.
Because she's connected, living. She's open, she's living, she's allowing life to come in. And someone who's 89, they've had trauma in their life.
Oh, no doubt.
You don't live to 89 without having.
I mean, her husband's been dead for 40 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And then she's had guys hitting on her, and she's, you know, lived through experiences where women were, you know, told to shut up and sit down, you know, even more. I mean, my husband pointed out something out. there is only 66 years between the Wright brothers and landing on the moon.
Wow.
66 years.
Pretty small.
So we, we've all experienced those things.
So
And
true.
the only way to live well is to live well,
Mm-hmm.
to make
That's
the
true.
choice. And then you can thrive.
Amen to that.
There you go.
Well, sister, until next week, thank you.
Keep smelling your essential oils and burning your candles. I know I'm going to be.
Absolutely. Enjoy your week, everybody.
Yep.
Thanks, Rita.
Thanks, everybody, for being here with us. Thanks, Julie.
Bye.
Bye.